Good evening, ladies and gents. Episode 12 of the Fanzone Podcast, joined by myself, Colin, and Ange, the usuals. And a tough defeat to take, it feels like. Positives, negatives, plenty of each to take from that game, I think. But, it only feels right to start with our post-match reaction, as always. If you are watching at home, let us know your thoughts on the game. As we're going through, share what you think about what we're saying. There's plenty of conversations and topics that will come up that you can share your thoughts on. So, join in. Whatever platform you're watching on, make sure you're following us. If you're over on YouTube, if you subscribe and hit the bell, you'll be notified every time we go live. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it, and we'll start with you, Colin. What do you make of defeat at Derby?
First of all, I know it's live, but I can hear a bit of interference on that thing. I don't know what's going on. I can hear echoing, but never mind. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Defeat at Derby. I was very, very, very frustrated yesterday after walking away from that ground. I felt as if we, for some bizarre reason, give them far too much respect. I didn't see a great deal of threat from them throughout the whole game. Certainly, I think I was sat in front of Ange and I turned around and seen her at half time and I just said 1-1. I said, I reckon it'll finish a draw, this, because I just couldn't see what they had more than us from an overall, from the overall play, if you will. But obviously, when the game played out, they had one thing more than us, which was just a clinical edge, and their experience in terms of the personnel shone through. They managed us better than we managed them, which I think is partly to do with the fact that they have got a lot of experienced lads in their team, but also the fact that we showed them far too much respect. We didn't play our normal game. We didn't seem confident. Certain players, should I say, didn't seem confident. There were a little bit of nerves. Why? I don't know. Concerning if we go to Wembley in front of 50, 60,000, if they can have a bit of nerves at Pride Park of all places. Whether that played a part, I don't know. But yeah, I was very frustrated yesterday, personally, and I still am, to be honest with you, because I think we could have got something from that game. There was an opportunity there, and we failed miserably, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Like I said before, if you are watching at home, drop your comments in on the stream. Let us know what you thought of the game, your initial sort of reactions, whether you're disappointed with that, or let us know. And what did you make of it? What are you feeling?
Similar to Colin, that it was disappointing and it was a bit frustrating that we didn't play our game. They're definitely much more physical than us. They're a bit more, not bullyish, but maybe bullyish. They weren't going to let us have our own game. The press was so high. They would not let us play it from the back. They played a really good game. I don't think they're a brilliant side, but they played the game the way they know they could beat us. And I think that made them a better team on the day. McGoldrick, I always judge opposition players by how annoying I find them, and he annoyed me. He annoyed the life out of me yesterday. So I think they missed him, and if he'd have been playing when we played him at home, we might not have got away with that 0-0.
Yeah, it was a tough old game. One with not very many chances at either side, but there were just one side that seemed to take them that little bit better. We've had some comments in. We'll go with Liam, and he said Derby still have to play Sheff Wednesday, Plymouth, Peterborough, Wickham and Barnsley away, and Ipswich at home, and they've got a lot of the top 8 to play away from their ground yet, which is a good point. I thought the Derby side that we saw at our place was, strikingly different to the team at home.
Definitely.
It's similar to ourselves, the team that turns up at the Uniball can often be levels above what we've seen at some away performances. Lincoln, Cheltenham, and Forest Green, just to name a few. So what the league table will look like at the end of the season, who knows? I'd still have Derby pretty confidently to finish up in the playoffs. But we'll have to wait and see. Chris has said, rare I say this, I disagree. Cole, too many occasions that they identified the fact that it is not the priority of our fullbacks to defend. They expose the defensive transition between fullback and centre-back, which is another good point. I thought there were a number of occasions actually where our wing-backs were caught out quite high up the pitch, and their wingers, especially with Mendes Lang, I think is how you say it, I thought he really, really exposed that space. But that is our game plan. We stuck to it. We didn't back away from it. We tried playing our game. We just couldn't do it. And those performances happen. Another one I said, I think we lost the better team. Literally 2 of their players recently played at Prem level, which is another good point. I said that myself when I was reflecting on the game, that there's a team there that, although are under a transfer embargo, have brought in players that are not League One level at all. I saw a tweet that said Derby are actually a mid-table championship just playing in League One, which, with players like Conor Hurahan and David McGoldrick, are they League One level? I mean, because I certainly don't think so. Another one, David has said, lost to a good manager in Paul Warne, just like Rotherham last season, and now Derby, take it and move on. Another good point. 2 losses in, I think, maybe 13 or 14 games. It's not a bad record at any level to have. And Forest Green gives us the perfect opportunity, really, to bounce back and kick on again. And Liam's just said on that point that I made, I think Derby got taken over right at the point we were in for Barkhuizen, and he would have been a cracking signing. Was good both games against us, which is another good point. A really talented player. Lots of pace, which I think it was very visible in that Derby team. Lots of energy, lots of aggression, something that we just couldn't handle. And despite that performance being one that many will be keen to put behind them, I thought the fans were absolutely excellent. I'm not sure about both of you, but I thought the travelling support in full voice was absolutely phenomenal, and is really good to see. I don't know if either of you got anything to add to that.
Just felt like a proper game. Before we went live, before I said to you, Brendan, I was sat, or stood, should I say, as some of the fans were coming in up the steps, and there's a group of young lads, must have been, I don't know, 18, 19, like, wow, look at this ground, like proper ground, this, and all they were saying. I was like, Fully Pride Park. We're not exactly turning up to Emirates here type thing, but it had that feel in it. I feel like a proper football match, and compared to some of the places that we've found ourselves attending in recent years, it was nice to be at a proper ground and a proper match again. And I think the fans responded to that in response to your question. And the fans yesterday, I think both sets of fans recognised that it was a proper game, which another reason why it annoyed me even more, the fact that we didn't turn up really, because we had an opportunity there to close that gap. I tweeted on Friday or Saturday morning, I think it was, something along the lines of, if we win today and Ipswich drop points, we're within touching distance of Ipswich, and then we can start looking for this top 2. And that was the attitude that Derby's fans had going into that game yesterday, because I was listening to a few walking to the ground yesterday. They were saying exactly the same thing. And it annoyed me again, because some of our fans were like, oh, we're not going to get to the top 2, though, regardless of how today's results go. And it's a mentality thing. And I think the players, I don't know, for some reason, didn't turn up yesterday. Maybe they think that as well. Maybe they think they're not good enough to get that top 2 spot, and they're happy to settle for and consolidate for within the top 6. You can probably hear the frustration still in my voice, and I am irritated by that result yesterday. But yeah, the fans are great, fantastic.
Yeah.
Back to the point at hand, Carl. Yeah. So I judge things like this off Finn's, my boy's reaction, and he absolutely loved yesterday. Even though we didn't win, he was singing constantly, chanting, loving it, just looking around him all the time. He kept saying when he first kicked off, he's like, I'm not even watching the game. I just keep looking at all the fans. And for me, that was like, yeah, this is the atmosphere is amazing. You're so close to the home fans at Pride Park. That like bit of banter between the two was good. I really enjoyed it. Other than the fact we didn't really turn up, I thought the actual day stuff was good. Good effort.
Absolutely.
Good effort, White.
Yeah, it was a good turnout, and we were in full voice for large parts of the game. Brandon has said that it was the best away atmosphere he's been to in his life, and he's been watching since 2003, which, you know, I've not been attending that long, but I can safely say I think that was up there with one of the best games that I've been to in terms of atmosphere. So, yeah, all credit to the Bolton fans. We always do our best, and I don't think we ever disappoint, really. Just on atmosphere, one point I did want to touch on. I think not long into the game, there was a bit of chaos that erupted in the Derby end, where they all seemed to partake in a bounce of some description. Not one I think I've seen before from any set of fans. I don't know if you both saw it, but there was some sort of... It was like a Mexican wave of people just bouncing in the home end, and it was strange to say the least.
Yeah, so I spoke to a friend about this earlier, and he said that it's the if you don't bounce, you're a red against Forest thing.
Right.
So,
okay.
It's been going for years, but obviously we've not played them for a little while. So.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Not one I think we'll be seeing at the Uniball anytime soon.
Yeah, one of those rivalries where obviously they're singing about a Prem team.
Yeah.
I liked him. It got people going, didn't it? I think the atmosphere as a whole yesterday were class, weren't it? I like we were going down the one on the Wanderers route, weren't we, for a good while. And
they had no idea. They had no idea what we were singing, and
at some point,
it did turn into rah 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 rah.
It was a noise that I think it proper got to them, didn't it? And it reacted.
Yeah.
It made them react in it as well, which was good.
It was annoying. It must have sounded really annoying because we were doing it when we double time it, and it was all like rah rah rah. Yeah, I loved that. 10 minutes of that. That was their best. That was our best 10 minutes of play. It proper spurred them on.
I can say I mentioned that you definitely could tell that it picked the lads up that little bit more, but I do agree that there is an occasion it just sort of blends into one really long, just a noise. It doesn't even have any words to it. It's just a. But that certainly picked the lads up. But it was a little too late maybe, and then their second goal came, and I think that more or less certainly killed the fans off, it felt like, for a little while. But it was a bit of a poor start even before that. We looked really quite shaky. I can't really put my finger on why. I think Derby found most of their joy in the wide spots, in behind our fullbacks on a number of occasions, and obviously with so much talent and pace up front, you know, when you leave spots open, Derby are going to find it. Why do you think that was? Do you think the team maybe needs some time to gel? You know, obviously we've got 2 new signings that had started. I think Mlundalu's played 2 and Rando Williams has only played 3 games. What do you think the reason for that shaky start was? Was it nerves? I mean, we've seen it before, but this seemed to be slightly more concerning than the usual. It wasn't just a momentary, you know, lack of concentration. This seemed to go on for 15, maybe 20 minutes. Why do you think that was, Colin?
I think it was a combination of a couple of things. I think nerves, possibly, although you think they're becoming accustomed to playing in front of proper crowds these days. So I'm not sure about that one, but maybe. I think the fullbacks were a concern for me yesterday, during and after the game, because the lad at left back, yes, he's new to the side. Yes, he's obviously trying to find his feet in our system. He hasn't played a lot of football, and he isn't a left wing back. He's a left winger, and it showed against that the lad who used to be at Cardiff. Can't remember his name now. their right wing, what's he called? Come out me out here, Ben.
Mendes.
Mendes. Yeah. I'm short against him because he's a experienced and he's direct and quick and strong and explosive. And I think he were concerns Randall Williams yesterday about him as well, which obviously, it put him on the back foot a little bit, didn't it? And on the other side, I thought, and I said this to my mate who went down with yesterday. I would have been quite happy in a way that it would have rested Conor Bradley yesterday because he looked tired in recent weeks. Then he looked exposed at times defensively yesterday and offensively as well. He wasn't his normal self, and he hasn't been his normal self in the last few games. And I think he just needs a good rest, to be honest with you.
Do you wonder whether that yellow card thing is worrying him though? Like he's got that hanging over him that if he gets another, he's out for 2. Do you think that's slightly playing on his mind? Because
I don't think so.
It must.
I don't.
There was definitely one incident. I think he pulled.
He pulled his shirt.
He pulled his shirt, and he was.
Yeah.
If it would have been a yellow, I don't think there'd have been many complaints. But he looked pretty frustrated when he'd given that away. There was a momentary.
He knows he's going to get that. He knows he's going to get that booking though between now and March, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
so I thought
it's pretty tough for him to not get it. But there was a moment where he thought, "Oh shit." But
I just think he needs a rest. I just think he's his first season at senior level, and I think he's played so much football, and it's easy to forget he's only 19 years old, and he looked like he needed a rest yesterday, and I certainly can't see him starting on Tuesday night.
There was no way would Ian Evatt rest him against Derby. Yes, Tuesday against Forest Green maybe, and he absolutely needs it, like you say, Carl. The poor lad's been ran ragged. But no, there was no way he was going to rest him on Saturday.
No. I don't think he would have done, but it wouldn't have surprised me if he would have done it because you're up against a better side in the division, aren't you? So maybe a bit of experience, better, someone better defensively. Could that have done us favours possibly at right wing back? Maybe not. I don't know. But he needs a rest, I think.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think for a number of weeks now he's looked from maybe the 60th, 70th minute onwards that he's flagging a little bit. We've had some comments in that I'll run through. Some I don't want to touch on just yet because it is in our list of things to speak about a bit later on.
Name drop the people though, so they know we've got a good chance of going to speak about it.
Yeah, hang fire people.
One from Chris about a new striker. That is something we're going to touch on later. Not necessarily a new striker, but new signings in general. So we'll touch on that. We've had one from Danny saying Shortire looked decent, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. Another one from Chris about Shortire as well. There is a lot of comments tonight. One from Liam about another season in League One. We did a poll on that. And that is on its way to you all. But yes, moving on. Anyway, David has said, agree with Colin, Connor feeling the effects of a full first season, which is another good point. It is his first season, and some fans would do well to remember that he's never been at this level before, but he's taken it in his stride. But
his performances in terms of he's still he's still putting in good performances. He's still like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. He's just not been that asset from an attacking point of view. I don't think in the last half an hour, the last 20 minutes of games when we need him to be, that he has been in recent months. That's what I'm kind of meaning. That makes sense.
And some rotation may well do him the world of good. Danny said I'd put Gethin right wing back on Tuesday. If Gethin is back up to speed, then that is, there's potential for that to happen. Just on a good note, I suppose, more than anything, Dan and Lunderloo looked quite good, I thought. He worked hard, ran his socks off, put himself about, and has shown perhaps more signs of good things to come from that lad. What did you both make of what I thought was a pretty impressive performance? We'll go to you, Ange. What did you make of it?
I mean, yeah, he's like he said in his post-match interview, he was disappointed in himself. I think he got himself into some really good positions. I thought he worked really hard. It was just his finish. It's just that cutting edge in it. It's that gelling with his teammates and that little bit of clinicalness in the box, which it'll come. For me, he looks like a really promising signing. No complaints for his first start, wasn't it? Second kind of appearance.
Yeah. What about you, Colin?
I think he just didn't get in the box enough, did he? He played well, like, you know, dropping deep, some nice touches, playing the ball, using the ball well, distribution's good. Always plays with his head up, he knows where the players are around him. Very good balance, good strength, wins a lot of duels, but we just didn't get him in the box enough. I had a look before we came live, and I made a shot here. I made a note here. Dion Charles, and between both strikers against Derby, Dion Charles and Lundley had one shot on target in 90 minutes between them. So they just weren't in the box enough, were they? And that was the problem yesterday with him. If he's in and around the box more, he's having attempts on goal. He probably looks like he has a better performance than he actually did. But overall, I thought he did all right. Yeah, tried to influence the game, didn't he? But we just didn't show up, did we? Across the park, which didn't help him.
I think it was a tough game for him to come in and start in. Derby aren't an easy side to play against by any means, and so dropping him in for his second start, I think maybe if Jon had started, if he was injury free, it might have looked a bit different, and that shaky start might not have impacted us so much. But it definitely looks like Lundley will be that deep striker that comes and gets the ball, and Charles can play off that and thrive off that, hopefully. It's something we didn't see against Derby, albeit, but hopefully once that partnership starts to gel, we might be able to see that that injury for Jon has just come at such a poor time. But we've got some comments in. Danny has said, Lundley definitely an improvement on Bakker, but with JDB out, we need at least 2 more forwards. That's something we'll come on to later with regards to new signings and stuff.
Oh, sorry, Ben, to interrupt. That's a really good point by Danny B. Then he's a massive upgrade on Bakayoko. So all we can really do in terms of a footballer, Bakayoko last season scored plenty of goals, didn't he? He was a bit of a super sub, weren't he? Hence the song that he got cult status. But he's just a better footballer. You can just see it stands out a mile. So that's a really valid point on that one from Danny.
Yeah, it is indeed, and hopefully it won't be the last we see of him at the end of the season. But another one from Brandon that said, Lundley looks like a more polished backer to me. Again,
and this is all we can really hope for, innit? Really, with players, like we get rid of players, Bakayoko, we get rid of Dapo, and as long as there's improvement into the personnel that comes through the door to replace them, then we can't complain, can we? And obviously,
we can because we're Bolton fans, and we do. But yeah,
we shouldn't complain. Should we really?
We shouldn't.
There's upgrades, so.
Yeah, David has said that I feel we do not feed our strikers enough. Feeding our scraps means we need to bolster our midfield. And I thought one thing that was significantly lacking from yesterday's game was that number 10, which I will keep banging on about for as long as we don't have one. Kieran Lee, bless him, he really tried, but I just thought the game really passed him by. You just couldn't. Against sort of the teams that play a low block, we slow the game down and we control possession really well. They don't press us. We have time on the ball, but in a really fast-paced, high-press game, Kieran, he looked a little bit lost at times. He got quite frustrated. I think there are 1 or 2 fouls that he gave away that seemed to come out of frustration more than anything. Maybe Shola Shortire in time will prove to us that he can be that number 10 and give us that, bolster that we need in that creative space. Chris has said as well that he agrees with David. He didn't see any creativity for the front 2 yesterday, which, if they aren't getting the service that they need, it's going to be even harder for them to create chances. Danny has said, we do forget how good Lee was v Portsmouth, though. Everyone has their off days. This is another good point. I think the team has been unchanged now for 3 or 4 games, and for Kieran Lee, I can imagine that's a bit of a stretch. So, some good depth would do us the world of good in that position. James has said, a bit lightweight in midfield versus the big teams, potentially a better MJ who controls the game and allows us to express ourselves could make a difference in those type of games, which is another fantastic point. If we had a player that, it feels harsh saying, but that was a better version of MJ, I think a Conor Hourihane, for example, I think we'd be flying, but those sorts of players, one, come with a hefty price tag, and if you can find them, they come at a hefty price tag. There aren't many of them knocking around.
I just think it's a sort of bit of a shit house in midfield, really. Somebody who's just going to put the foot in, dictate play. Good distribution of the ball. That's what we need. Just somebody to sit, like a young Carl Henry, maybe something like that.
Yeah. It's a strange one with our midfield because the players that are in there can all play pretty well. You've got Morley who can play deep, and I think we need that. I think without that, we'd struggle to get the ball out of defence into midfield. I think when we play with MJ, that shows that when we have that, robust midfielder that sits in a deep role, we often struggle to get the ball up the pitch. A lot of backways and sideways movement. And then you have Dempsey, who is that, warrior and that little Rottweiler that gets at people and isn't afraid to put himself about. But then if you get rid of him, and then you've not really got that, the link up between the midfield and the attack. Lee can offer us that, but as we've seen, there are some games that can sort of pass him by. Just touching on players, Shortire, I thought he had a good debut. He looked lively. Obviously, didn't really get much, but from what I saw, positive signs. Another one like Lundley that I think we will see more of. Hopefully sooner rather than later. What did you make of his debut, Ange?
I thought he came on like a little ball of energy. Showed some really good promise and can see kind of why Ian's excited by him. I think he must have been with us about 3 years or something, 3-4 days. So give the kid a chance. And I think somebody put it in the chat, let him start Tuesday. I fully agree with that. Stick him on for Kieran or give Kieran a sit down. Go at him, see what he's got.
Yep. Wouldn't be opposed to that. Colin, what did you think of his performance?
I was a bit annoyed actually yesterday with Ian Everett's comments, because I was thinking exactly the same thing. For the time he was on the pitch, Everett said in his post-match yesterday, the players need to trust him more, or it seems like they need to trust him more, and that's what I thought, because he was the few occasions that he got the ball and he turned on the half, and he's looking over his left and right shoulders. He can see what's around him. He's got a good low centre of gravity, willing to take players on. But he didn't get the ball to his feet as much as he probably should. And that trust, I think, from the players around him is necessary. And that'll come with time, obviously. And
yeah, it'll come. It'll come, Carl. It definitely will come. But
you can tell he's got something.
Yeah. There's a definite little spark about him. There's something. I think he could be potentially a really tricky kind of blooming, I don't know what, gunpowder. He looks like one of those types that'll proper wind opposition up. He might be our little shit house. He might be
I think he's probably a difficult player to play against as well from an opposition point of view, because obviously he's quite small and nimble, and he seems that way as well, and difficult to pick up when he runs from midfield, I would imagine as well. So should be an asset, and just back the line, isn't it? Now, really, that's all we can do. Regardless of kind of what happens, really, just make sure we're back in.
Yeah, he looked good. I thought on the half turn there were a number of occasions where you could see that little spark of creativity, looking to get forward and drive us on. Danny said he's played for the United Youth for a reason, and you can see it. Which good
absolutely,
point. Absolutely. Some hot prospects that have gone through them levels and are in those levels now,
like Chris Eagles.
Absolutely. So. Moving away from players slightly, I don't think there were many more that stood out. But a tradition that we're going to get into the habit of doing is the Fanzone Man of the Match. Probably a tough one to pick. Not many options, I don't think. But if you had to narrow it down to one, who are you giving the award to? If you're watching at home, drop in who you thought the man of the match was. Let us know who you think deserves it.
Try and let us know your man of the match.
Yeah, try and pick one if you can. It was a tough old game for all of them. I don't think any of them will be happy with the performance, but if one stood out, do let us know. Ange, do you have someone in mind?
Fans, I give it to the fans. I honestly can't. They were all much of a muchness, weren't they? I don't. Maybe Dan just for start and he showed a bit of summer. I don't know. Yeah, sack it. They were all not brilliant, so we go with Dan the man.
Fair point, Colin.
Dion for me, just his tenacious attitude, and he never gets up, does he? Chase everything down. He's always getting his body in between and trying to get fouls, trying to get us up the pitch. Highlighted his attitude when he got us an assist for our consolation by just chasing down the defender and keeping the ball in play. That's all we can go off in it, really. Just Dion for me.
There are some comments coming in that I will put on screen sharing your man of the matches. I'm going to agree with the one that was just on screen then, Lunderloo for me. Just the way he put himself about, I thought, considering it was his first start for us, I thought he was a good asset. And although, he couldn't find the back of the net, there were plenty of signs showing that he will do at some point. One from Mark that said, man of the match for the ball boys collecting Trafford's pitch. I think it was Go on, Colin.
No, I was going to say, Traff's distribution this season's gone, Don't know whether because we seem to be asking him to play more direct balls or long balls, depending on what team you play for. But his distribution doesn't seem as good as it was last season for me. So that's
he seemed a bit off it for a couple of games with his distribution. I think Portsmouth in the cup was like, what's he doing? I don't know.
Not been Yossi bad though. Don't get me wrong.
Yossi. Not quite Yossi bad. But it's like, it's me check me boots. So what's wrong with these studs? What after one of them, and you're like, trash.
There does seem to be a noticeable change in the types of passes he's playing. I think a lot of them were just out to Santos. That's always how it used to be, and now he's looking for the head of either Lunderloo or Bradley. It seems is quite good in the air, or it was Jon whilst he was fit. There does seem to be the nature to go long quite a lot, so that might be a change in his game that he's still adapting to. One question that has divided opinion on Twitter, to say the least. And there is a poll over there if you do want to go and check it out on Twitter, and that is, would promotion to the Championship this season be too soon? Make of that what you will. There was a comment before from Liam, I believe, so we'll open the floor with this one, and he said, would you take an extra season in League One and strengthen? Sounds counterintuitive not to aim to go up to me, but look at the state of Wigan. If we win the Pizza Cup this year and go up Autos next year, who knows? What are your thoughts on that? I'll give you some time to ponder it and just read through some of the responses that we got on Twitter. But like I said, we did put a poll out. So would the step up to the Championship be too soon this season? 45% of you said yes, and 55% of you said no. I'll read out some of the responses. One of them said, promotion from this league is so difficult. I will happily take it however and whenever it comes, including this season. I'd rather struggle and scrap to stay up in the Championship than risk getting stuck in the League One playoff lottery year after year, which, on paper, you can't really argue with it. Someone else said, I think we wouldn't have the resources to recruit enough to stay in the Championship in the summer. That's a realistic statement, not a negative one. If you could guarantee me that when we get Traff and Bradley back, then I'd be tempted to change my answer. One from Tony Partington, who said, the answer to this is somewhere between yes, I'd love us to go up because we would entice better quality players, but currently we are not quite ready on or off the pitch to compete effectively in the Championship. But he said,
that though, do we?
to get promoted.
We don't know though, do we? This is I know you said give it a bit of time before you to ponder your opinion, but we don't know how equipped we are off the field. None of us do. Because we quite clearly have a consortium in place of people that have got business acumen. We've just seen that because we just flogged Dapo at the first real opportunity. We don't know what. My point is that with them having the business acumen that they've got, I very much doubt that they haven't got irons in the fire if we were to get into the Championship. Because it's a business and they want to profit from the business. They want to get it in a place where they can sell it on, which is the ultimate goal as far as they're concerned as owners. Whether, as much as we love Sharon or not, she wants to make a few quid for her sons and bugger off to the Caribbean. That's her ultimate goal. She's not in it for it forever. So to get us to that next level, the next level is a Championship, but she's a businesswoman. So none of us can say that we're not equipped off the park because we just don't know. So to answer the question is fucking get promoted at the first opportunity, because it's just like one of the comments said, it's just a lottery, innit? And we can't be messing about in League One for too long because you'll end up like Sheffield United. Took them 4, 5, 6 years to get out the League One, I think it were.
And
It's a bit ridiculous. So get out as soon as possible. None of that win the pizza cup trophy and all we get next year. No, win that and then go back a month later and get promoted in playoffs. That's what we do, and if we don't survive, we don't survive. But yeah, none of us can say that we're not equipped off the field because we just don't know.
And what are your thoughts?
I wrestle with this question so much because it's very head and hearty. So my heart, absolutely, yeah. Of course, I want to go up. Absolutely, I want that. I want that promotion party. Of course, I do. How many of our squad would we need to change to compete? I can't be asked with going up and down. I cannot be asked with being a yo-yo club. But then, like I think people have said on the comments, you go up, you get a bit of money, you attract better players. It's all a lottery. Football, a lot of the time, is a lottery. So there's not just the playoff lottery. There's also the what you're going to get in the summer lottery and who's going to leave lottery and who's going to break the leg lottery. There's so much lottery to be had in the game of football that all you can do is try your best, innit? If you go up, we go up, and you've just got to make it work. And fingers crossed, you don't come tumbling back down the following season. So to answer that question, I would not be the end of the world for me. This is my opinion. If we don't go up this season, when we came up from League Two, I absolutely had in my head, I reckon we'll be 3 years. 3-4 years, because if look at what Ipswich have just shelled out £2 million for 2 players. It's like, how do you compete with these money bag clubs? And I don't know. What if they don't go up and they've just pissed all the money up the wall? Do you know what I mean? It's like the sustainability of my club is really important to me. So yeah, it's a really tough question for me. That one you might have gathered.
Right, Ryan the Wanderers made a good point there.
So we'll find it. Which one was it?
His most recent post.
This one?
No, most recent one. Even if we went straight back down.
Yeah, that's the one.
That one.
Yeah, so Ryan said, even if we went straight back down, we should be in a stronger position for the following season after a couple of Championship transfer windows.
Just get up in it.
Which is a good point. The caliber of players that you can attract in the Championship is much better, and if they're under contract, as long as, the club have some sort of vision to get back into the Championship, which I'm sure they will have. I don't think those players are likely to just jump ship at the first opportunity. Or I'm sure that the recruitment will be done thorough enough to find the characters that, would want to stay in the Championship, but if worse came to worse and we went into League One, would stick around to get us back up there. In terms of sort of that whole theme of things, if we are looking at new transfers and new players, obviously we're going to need people. Should we get promoted, we're going to need new signings to keep us in the Championship. But right now, if we want to go up into the Championship, it's also looking like, with some of the injury news and some of the departures, that we're going to need some more players. Whether that's starting players or some more depth. But
sorry, who are the departures here now? In my head, I've got Declan John leaving.
Obviously, Bakker and Dapo have gone already.
Yeah.
Declan John, I think, will be on his way out. There has been talk of Sadlier leaving. Whether that last gasp goal at Derby will turn those rumours over, who knows? But that could be 3 or 4, possibly Isgrove as well. But I think that might be waiting till the end of the summer. I think that's when he's out of contract. So
he'd be wise to leave him there when he really get some football, even with just on a loan with a view to permanent.
Yeah, it's a good point. Footballers thrive when they're playing football, and at the minute it doesn't look like that'll be the case for Isgrove, either through injury or, I hate to say it because I know that someone's watching, but just not being competitive enough to get in our starting 11.
He did not look at it.
So, who are you looking to bring in? I think recent injuries will change this decision, but if there is money in the pot to spend, which Everett has said that there is, who else are you looking to bring in to solidify our chances of finishing in the playoffs, or maybe even making a step up into the Championship? And what do you think?
Oh, I don't know. And we were talking on the way home yesterday, and I think a couple of us quite like the look like Alfie May. I know he's only little, and we need a bit more presence up front, but he bags in that team, and he's so much better than Cheltenham. Sorry, but we absolutely need some strike force, because we're struggling, aren't we? We're struggling with putting them away. We're struggling with a bit of confidence up front. I know Dan's like brand new, but we've lost Jon, and I mean, I think everybody kind of heart sinks a little bit when Catcher's on the bench and he's your replacement striker. But I don't know. You don't know who's for sale, do you? Did Chris mention something about earlier on about there'd been mention of a new striker, but one
there
we've
was
not.
Indeed. I will go and find it.
Of.
I think it was Nixon. There it is. Nixon spoke about a completely new striker linked. Any thoughts? My thoughts would be I'd like to see another striker in, but if you're talking about any thoughts on who it is, not a clue.
What type of striker though, Ben? What type of striker do you think we need? Because I don't think we need that physicality, because I think Dan will offer you that from what I've seen. He can turn and defend. He can hold the ball. He can pin a centre half. You can see he's got that in him. So I think we like Anish just touched upon them. We need an Alfie May, don't we? We need a fox in the box, so to speak, in my eyes. Somebody who'll just let Dion and Dundee, whoever it is he's playing alongside, do all the graft, and he'll just do a bit of an Alfie.
Slot it in. That's all we need, isn't it? We've got grafters. Dion grafts his ass off game after game. He's just not, because he's working so hard, filling for other holes or whatever, or he's just not there to put it in half the time. And yeah, we need a little poacher, a little, like Carl said, fox in the box. It's a good way of badging it.
The Medine things, you can forget that. That ain't gonna happen. He's on too much money.
We can't afford his wage.
Almost guarantees. And B, he's right up Mick McCarthy's street, so he'll be playing on the Big Mick. So you can forget that one for a bag of soldiers. That ain't happening.
Yep. There are a number of comments that we've had in. Actually, with regards to specific players, I'm not sure if these are the rumours that people have said or just recommendations. Danny said, I would have said Jebison on loan from Sheffield, but now they have an embargo. I can't see it happening. I can't even pretend I know much about him, but, you know, these players, I'm sure you've all heard of. I'm not sure how much you know about them, but if they can do a job up front, I think that's all we need. One player who I do know a little bit about that a few people have said is Alfie May. And with Dan's move from Cheltenham, I think Chris has actually said that May has months of experience of working with Lundaloo. That's half the work already done. I'd love to see Alfie May, but you know, I'm not sure his price tag maybe fits our range.
Does a fox in the box type forward suit us though? With the way we press from the front.
That's what I was thinking. My initial reaction is no, because
Does it?
As long as you've got a fox in the box, that's all well and good. But if they aren't getting in the box quick enough,
balls in the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Alfie May to our side. I mean, I don't really know a great deal about the lad, to be honest with you, but I do know. Look, I've seen a few of his goals. He's like puts them in within the 12-yard box, doesn't he? So is he going to be pressing from the front? Is he going to be running his ass off? I doubt it. That David Green made a good point. Now I know it's a completely different kettle of fish, but he's right. City won the league without a striker. It's a midfielder that we need, and I agree. Really, I think we need a midfielder, like a shit house midfielder instead.
I mean, I could go into the debate about potentially Haaland making City a slightly weaker team, but I won't.
I mean, I think
because
it is
of that very thing.
I think it is worth saying that although City won the league without a striker, their number 9 that they were playing with was Ferran Torres, who is now at Barcelona, and you know isn't by any stretch of the imagination comparable with the likes of Alfie May or Dion Charles. He's a little bit of a step up, so he's not a natural striker, but he's.
Phil Foden played as a 9 as well, didn't he? I'm sure.
I think so, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of names flying about. A lot of names flying about. I was more leaning towards specific positions, but I mean, I think a striker is the obvious one that people are saying we need to reinforce. And a midfielder, I do think we look a little bit lightweight in some games. One name that is being thrown about is Connor Wickham. Obviously now on a free since his departure from Forest Green.
Is this just us, or is it come from a source, or is this just us saying we'd like him?
Those are saying we like him, I think.
I think
this is a bit of a name, I think, probably.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess. Why has he left Forest Green, though? That's my question. Why is it?
Because they're terrible.
He was just out of contract. I think he scored 8 goals in 9 games or something. He's not got a bad return.
So he thought he'd get a bigger, better club with a better contract. Is that he's left? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that is the case. Although someone's just dropped in that Wickham is injury prone.
Well, that's why I asked. Yeah, because
obviously his career.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I was thinking, is he injured again, or has he got a knock, and that's why they got rid of him or whatever.
And was he offered a new contract?
You think so? He scored 8 goals in.
Yeah, you'd think so, but was he? We don't know, do we?
Nobody knows.
It's costing us too much money in doctor's bills.
Maybe it's wanted a steak and cheese sandwich and you couldn't get one.
Who knows? Who knows the goings on?
I think pasty Barnes at Derby were offering yesterday.
That was quite a nice touch. That, to be fair.
Yeah, we've got to bring that up. Fair play. So.
Yeah, get the cars in for the boys.
Yeah. It was I think I saw a few things on Twitter about it, actually, just saying it was a nice gesture. But yeah, I think moving away slightly from transfers before we get wrapped up in a whole world of lots of names that half of which I don't know. I'm conscious that we are on 50 minutes again, and every week we seem to be getting longer and longer. So try and wrap us up.
That's what she said. Sorry.
Next poll.
Colin.
Sorry. The Office. It's The Office. Sorry.
So the next poll that we put out, which you can go and vote on quickly if you would like to, is should Rico Santos start ahead of Aimson against Forest Green? Does this provide the opportunity for him to make his way back into the team? And this, I've had a few people. This is by no means suggesting that he should. The polls that we put out, we don't have an answer to them. We want the answers from you. So if you see us on Twitter asking questions, we are just asking questions, and we want you to give us the answers.
You really made someone angry with this one, Ben.
I did. I thought it was pretty self-explanatory, but
this the point. The point of we're like a debate show, so you've got to ask questions that people are talking about, and if it's not that we think one way or the other, we want you to tell us what you think, and then we can talk about it. That's the whole point of it. But anyway, we don't mean to offend anyone. No
offense intended. Those polls are purely to get conversation starters. Otherwise, this would be one fucking boring podcast if we just talked about what we wanted to talk about. So we've had a few in. Danny said no, Aimson starts. Chris has said short answer, no. David has said yes to Rico. Aimson starts. The back three have been outstanding. Leave them alone. Aimson did have an absolute stinker, and Forest Green at home is the best possible team in the league to bring back from injury. Lots of debate on this one, which was, believe it or not, why I put the poll out. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Colin? Does Rico take his place back, or are you leaving that back three well alone?
Andrew knows what I'm going to say.
100%. 100% he's putting Rico back in.
Is it similar to Danny's comment?
Considering Aimson was at fault for the second goal yesterday and scored an own goal, then there's my thoughts on that. Was it an own goal? I'm pretty sure it was. It looked like it was from where I was sat. Was it an own goal? The first goal?
I don't think he's been credited an own goal, has he?
I don't know, whatever. Anyway, my thoughts are Ricardo Santos is our best centre half. So my thoughts are that he comes in as our captain as well as what he is. Also, goes back to my point before about the young lad that we've got on loan from United. We need to trust him more on the ball. Ricardo Santos is a better distributor of the football than Will Aimson. I think it's an ideal opportunity to get Ricardo Santos to feed him and get him on the half turn and get him creating, because Santos will do that more than Aimson. Aimson's more of a old-fashioned centre half, as we all know, we all love him for, and he has been impressive in recent weeks. But I think this is an ideal opportunity to start your captain, start the young kid, get them working together, and get him creating and ripping teams apart, which is, I think, what Everett sees in the young lad from United. So he starts because of that reason, as well as the fact that he's a better defender, in my opinion.
And what are
you? I'm saying though by that, his distribution is better distribute the football, isn't it? And that we want him pulling strings at young kid. Don't we want him to get confident in our setup, in our team? I think that'll help. I mean, Santos playing.
And what are your thoughts? Are you making any changes?
Oh, I don't know. Because it's Forest Green, maybe, possibly, I would give Will a rest and let Santos start. But I agree with Chris about yesterday. If Rico would have been in that back line, I'd have been on edge, seriously on edge. I think the three of them struggled yesterday, and because they're a much more physical side, and we might. Do you know what? I have no idea what team he's going to put out on Tuesday. He could potentially make a lot of changes on Tuesday, which worries me a little bit. But then also, it's been a tough old January, and we've got another match on away at stupid o'clock in the morning at Charlton on the Saturday following it. So he's going to have to make some changes, isn't he?
Yeah,
that might be one.
Some comments coming in talking about Baka and his knowledge of our team, which is another good point. Obviously, Baka knows our team. You would have thought inside out how much of an impact that makes when playing a team like Forest Green. Who knows? But David said, I'll buy Ben a pint if Rico does not start on Tuesday. So I'm going to keep that on screen for the rest of the
Why
episode.
did Ben get a pint? What about the rest of us?
Well, shit out, ain't you? I'm just the lucky one, obviously. What else have we missed? Any comments? Some talking about Santos's fitness, that, you know, he was really tiring in his last game, which might be something to do with the fact that he had pneumonia.
Chris has said that. Chris Burton said that. He agreed.
I have had pneumonia, and it's awful. Yeah. It takes you so long to recover. I know they're sports people and they've got a much bigger lung capacity, and the recovery is probably much quicker than an average person, but he's going to have a set of lungs on him the size of him. He's going to have huge lungs that need to recover. But I suppose he's going to go through all that fitness testing in it before they put him on. But yeah, I just keep seeing him against Portsmouth in the cup and thinking, oh my God, I just can't. But we're a couple of weeks on. We're a couple of weeks on, aren't we?
It is a tough one, but I am very intrigued as to what that starting lineup will look like. Like you said, Anjak, can envisage a number of changes, which might not always do us a favour, but we'll have to wait and see. Looking to wrap things up a little bit, what are your sort of expectations for Forest Green then? I have a feeling I know what both of you are going to say. Win, lose, draw. What do you want, and what is the absolute minimum? I think Collins might be the same answer for both.
I think we'll win, but I don't think it's going to be easy. We lost to these early in this season. Don't forget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're a poor side. They are where they are in the league for a reason. However, I think they'll give us a. I think it'll be a frustrating night, to be honest with you. And I think the fact that
they've got Baka.
Not about it. Might as well.
Yeah, but like we said, he knows us a little bit. He'll know how to expose a few of them. That's all. I don't think he's.
Yeah. Whether they'll have the ball though in it, and I'm probably arguing my point here. I just think they'll go in. It's going to be the frustrating night. I think, to be honest, a low block, and I think we'll find it a little bit frustrating. I think a big thing for Tuesday, out of the so-called 17,000 that'll be there, more like 14. Make sure when things aren't going our way, we aren't moaning and groaning and all that bullshit. We've got to get behind them and stick at it the whole way through the game, regardless of the scenario, because there are going to be times where I think we'll get frustrated, and that sometimes can portray onto the pitch. So we've got a job as fans on Tuesday night. So I think if we back them, we'll win, but I think we'll win just. And hopefully clean sheet, to answer the other point, Ben, about the expectation. I expect us to hopefully get a clean sheet. Because we need one. We need one after conceding, don't we? 2 at the weekend.
It would definitely be nice. And what are your thoughts?
For me, it feels very much like we need to win it. We have to win it, because just for a bit of morale boosting as well as anything else. I don't think they'll make it easy. I think they'll come and they'll sit back for a draw like every bugger else who comes. But I just hope that he plays Shola and he proves an unknown quantity, and he could be the difference. He could be the difference. Yeah, I think we'll win it. Oh God, I hope we win it.
Every game's a must-win, though, isn't it? That was a must-win on Saturday in my eyes. And we didn't win it, but every game's a must-win from now to the end of the season.
Well, if we do win every game until the end of the season, I, for one, will be very happy.
I mean, we won't, but...
No, of course we won't, but they are must-win games. If we want to...
At this stage of the season, every point is an important point. So you've got to be going into games thinking that you can take all 3 away. 1 point that we'll end on. If every fan who went yesterday got hold of 5 fans at the Reebok on Tuesday and teach them how to sing and support our lads like we did yesterday, absolutely a cracking point. If we can take some of that away support, then, bring it home, back the boys, and hopefully we'll bring home 3 points. I think we'll win it. Whether that will transpire, who knows? After all, it is Bolton that we're going watching, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight. Another night full of comments. Really struggled to keep up, even more so than I think last time, which we weren't expecting, we'll be honest. We thought after a defeat you'd have all gone and wallowed in a corner somewhere, but you all turned up, and we do appreciate it. So yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Whatever you're watching on, drop us a follow. You can find all our socials at the bottom of the screen. If you're on YouTube, you know the drill. Subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll be notified every time we go live. And you'll never miss an episode, which is, of course, what you all want. But we will see you in the next one. So take care. See you later.
Have a good one. See you Tuesday.
Bye.